What is up, everyone? Welcome back. We are slightly over 1 week now into the new league, patch 0.2 Dawn of the Hunt. And as promised, I'm back to you with another endgame build guide for your Blood Mage. And this one is an absolute beast. It's a monster of a build, especially considering the low currency entry level that you need with it. You only need slightly under 2 divines to get started with it, and of course, it progressively gets stronger and stronger the more you invest in it. If I sparked your attention, stick around for all the details. So after using my Sunder Totem starter to farm around 15 divines in tier 15 maps, I eventually started to explore options for builds to transition to. My first choice was a Spark build. The whole idea was to build it around Ratpit's globe and stack a lot of health and crit. And unfortunately, what I did manage to make it work in tier 15 maps, the fact that it had a really high health cost made it really difficult to stack health globes with sanguimancy, which overall made the build kind of squishy and clunky. So I decided to move on to another build. My second choice was to test my last league's build with the quarterstaff stat stacking Blood Mage. Um, Unfortunately, I underestimated the nerfs, especially the one on the ability to apply ailments to high level mobs. While working in tier 15 maps, it made it really difficult to freeze mobs, especially on certain map mods, which again made the build kind of clunky. So, with two bricked build attempts, I decided to move on again and thought it's about time I try a spear build. The skill I wanted to try most was Lightning Spear because it looks really awesome. And while I saw that everyone and their mom is playing Lightning Spear, I didn't really see anyone playing a Blood Mage. Since I started this build, I have seen a few pop up, so it's gaining popularity. But I thought I would build around it, of course, using Veil of the Night, and this is what I came up with. Now, if you watched any of my other videos, you're probably expecting this to be a Veil of the Night build, and of course it is. That means it has zero elemental resistances. Now, despite that, this build can run just about any map mod for tier 15, 16, and 17 maps. I've even ran corrupted maps with 6 modifiers, all elemental penalties, triple added elemental damage as, and so on, without any kind of issue, without dying. Um, the higher the mob density, the better this build performs, and it also does really well against single target like bosses. So far, I've only done tier 2 Seth, but I have absolutely no doubt that with good gear, it can do up to tier 4 endgame bosses without any difficulty, as well as Simulacrum, but I will have to try that out. So for our main ability, we are obviously using Lightning Spear. This ability allows us to clear multiple screens away. It's ridiculously strong and overpowered. For our single target, we are using Stormlands, and that's paired with a bleed that it gets from our Ascendancy Blood Barbs. For Lightning Spear, we are using Martial Tempo, Primal Armament, Lightning Infusion, Volt, and Bullseye. Now, despite not stacking accuracy like Huntresses do, this does help us hit evasive mobs like rares and uniques and so on. So it's a really nice addition to the skill. For Stormlands, we are using Overextend, Ambrosia, and Concentrated Effect. These are usual gems. Now, what we do different is use Incision and Life Tap. Incision, of course, for bleeding. This basically improves the bleed that you will apply the more it takes for you to apply it. I'm still testing it, but so far it seems like a really nice fit to this build. And Life Tap is because we are using Ambrosia, and that has a huge damage boost, but within 5 hits, it usually drains all your mana, so you're left with not being able to cast the skill, and hence why I'm using Life Tap. Now, the life cost from this is usually neglected by health globes. Even on bosses, you will spawn them always, so you won't really feel it. Now, for other skills, we are using Trinity. For an extra damage boost, we pair this with Lightning Mastery, Cold Mastery, and Fire Mastery to increase the gem level for it. We are also using Blasphemy with Conductivity. This helps mostly for bosses or really resistant rares, but it also helps us with our Blood Barbs passive because that allows us for the bleeds to get aggravated. It's a really nice synergy. We are also using Wind Dancer for some extra dexterity. This build has around 64 dexterity, which is not amazing, but it does help. Besides, for Wind Dancer, we are using Blind, Maim, and Pin. We could also swap out two other gems. They are not that important, except for maybe the Blind one. We are using Cast on Critical with Sniper's Mark, Impetus, Inspiration, and Profusion. The logic behind this is, of course, Sniper's Mark will increase our damage for the mark targets, but it will also help as Frenzy Charge generation with the help of Profusion. We crit on every hit, so that makes this skill being cast a lot. Impetus and Inspiration is to help with sustaining it and casting it more often. We are using Blink mainly for mobility. I mean, of course, for mobility that is paired with Ingenuity and Arcane Tempo. This is obviously not a mandatory skill, so if you don't really have enough spirit to equip all of these, I would suggest you um, don't use Blink and just use it later when you have enough spirit to add it. Um, some people I saw they are using the raw amount, which is absolutely amazing, feels great to use it, but unfortunately, it's good just in theory because this skill is way too good, and you end up just using one lightning spear and then walking for 3 seconds, using another lightning spear, and so on, which makes the raw amount kind of useless for most mapping scenarios, and hence why I chose to take Blink because a lot of times, because of the fact that you're clearing so fast, you're just walking for seconds and seconds. So, besides that, we are using Herald of Thunder. We pair this with Culling Strike to make sure that it kills enemy and thus applies um, Innervate, which also gives us 35% of damage as lightning. We also use lightning exposure on it and elemental focus for some more damage. Also, we are using Barrage, and we are pairing that with Second Wind, Perpetual Charge, Premeditation, and Inhibitor. Barrage basically helps you cast your skill times. It's a damage boost, but we also make sure that it's not consuming our frenzy charges because we want to consume those with our main skills, which are Lightning Strike and Torment. That's about it for the gems. Let's move on to something else. So let's quickly go over the gear. I will start with the mandatory pieces, the most important ones. The first one is obviously Veil of the Night, Martyr Crown. This is in my opinion, one of the most underrated uniques in the game. I've used it so far in all of my builds, even though it makes us have 0 elemental resistances. I think we can bypass that and use it to our advantage, as I mentioned in my other videos. I won't insist on this right now. This costs you about 1 exalted to get started. You can corrupt it to up to 61 increased maximum life. I corrupted this one myself. It took around 10 attempts. And yeah, that's about it. For the next piece, we are talking about Hand of Wisdom and Action. These are the most expensive mandatory piece of the build. You can get a corrupted one for around 1 divine right now. They have gotten really, really cheap. Not much to say about it. The best corruption that you can get on this one is to increase the added lightning damage from 1 to 12. But those are around, I don't know, 5 to 10 divines, so normal pair would be just fine. The third actually, mandatory unique for this build is Tangle Tongue Forked Spear. This can be replaced with a rare spear, but that's going to cost you probably around 1 mirror. So this is the next best thing. This is a corrupted one with 2 open sockets, but for starters, if you're lacking in currency, I recommend you get one that is around 15 plus added critical damage, and with only 1 socket, of course. A corrupted one like this is around 5 divines, but a normal one with 15 to critical chance should be just fine for starters and should cost you only a few exalts. I actually made this one myself. I tried to buy one, and after like 3 scam attempts from people, I ended up finding one and corrupting it and got lucky with the corruption. So here I am using it. For other pieces, we are using in our offhand a scepter. This scepter is strictly to increase our spirit. This grants 185 spirit. It enables us to use a lot of our spirit skills. It also gives increased intelligence, which is an added benefit but not necessary. And for the passives, it has malice. Malice is a great skill that uh, inflicts critical weakness on enemies around you. This increases the chance for them to be critically hit. It's really nice if you have a weapon that has a low crit chance. This will help a lot for bosses or rares. But if you are capped, like I am right now, for critical strike, then it becomes kind of redundant. So I could just as well use any passive skill, but I ended up sticking with this one. So long story short, if you're not crit capped, make sure your scepter uses malice, and spirit should be high enough for you to use your skill. Don't go for the highest spirit because that's gonna cost a lot of divines. Use spirit just enough for you to be able to enable your skill. For the chest piece, I am using Warrior Invictus. This is really not the best choice. This one uses is with life and spirit and mana. I have this from the Spark build that I used, so I ended up using now. The best in slot would be a Warrior Invictus, but with Chaos instead of mana, but I haven't bought one yet. You don't really have to use a Warrior Invictus except if you're using it for the rarity. I socketed rarity in it. If you don't want to do that and have under 100% rarity, you can just as well go for a rare chest, a evasion base that has like 200 plus life, and of course spirit, and maybe some chaos resistance, maybe some intelligence, high evasion, and stuff like that. That should only cost you a few exalts. No reason for you to go to for Warrior Invictus if you don't have that much currency to start with. Um, but if you do have enough currency, this might be a good choice, and especially if you're under 100% increased rarity, I highly recommend you get one and socket it with rarity because it makes all of the difference. For the jewelry, we are using a amulet that gives us a lot of health, spirit, and attributes. Same thing for the rings, life, attributes, and rarity. Both rings have that. The best way that you can find one of these rings is either to search for 2 affixes, like let's say life and intelligence, and then try to add one extra via exalted orbs, or you can use the recombinator. It has a really high chance to merge jewelry that have life and attributes or rarity. um, so yeah, that's a great way for you to get a decent ring or amulet. For the charms, very important, you have to use a charm that grants you immunity to ignite, because ignite will obviously wreck you when you have 0 elemental resistances. Another mandatory charm should be one that it gives you freeze immunity for obvious reasons. The third one is kind of optional. I'm using this unique amethyst charm, which gives us some recoup when blocking chaos damage. For the belt, I am using ingenuity. This is not the best choice, of course. You can just as well use a rare build, even though Ingenuity is only like a few exalts now, but you can just as well use a rare build with high life and other good stats like chaos or strength or whatever else you can find for cheap. For the flask, just use any plain flask, and the mana flask should have increased charges. Would help with the damage from Ambrosia when you're using Stormlands. And yeah, that's about it for items. So let's quickly go over the skill tree. For the skill tree, I'm basically using the same skill tree that I was using for my stat stacking quarterstaff build. I basically removed the quarterstaff nodes and took the spear ones and made some really small adjustments. And of course, I unequipped the unique quarterstaff and started to use Tangle Tongue. Um, the most important thing about the skill tree is first that you want to stack intelligence to benefit from the Hand of Wisdom and Action passive, as well as prioritize critical strike chance above all else. This is because of the Fork's critical hits passive that your spear has. This enables you to be able to crit twice in one hit. This is insanely powerful, and if you have a 100% critical strike chance, if you're crit capped, then you basically always crit twice. That's what makes this spear so overpowered, and that's why it's probably going to get nerfed in the next league. So enjoy it now while you still can. Besides critical strike chance, like I said, you want to stack as much intelligence as you want. For this build, I'm using pure power for the anointment. This is a very expensive anointment, but if you don't really have that much currency, you can just go for preemptive strike or one of the accuracy uh, passives. That those will do just fine for starters, not really a problem. We also pick lightning damage nodes where possible and some lightning penetration. For the jewels, I'm still using actually the Grand Spectrum. I have three of those. I bought them in like day two of the league, and so far I'm still using them. They are not mandatory though. Instead, you can opt to use a rare jewel that has critical strike chance to help you get capped or critical strike damage. Just about any will do. In addition to that, I'm using Heroic Tragedy. What this does is enable this passive, Knightly Tenants, which increases your evasion rating by intelligence instead of your mana. And this is what gives us all the evasion and what gets us to up to 64%. It's not an amazing amount of evasion, but it obviously helps a lot while mapping. Besides that, I'm also using a controlled metamorphosis jewel. The one I'm using is medium small ring, so make sure you look for that if you want to equip this, not anything else. This enables the use of cooked, 60% increased critical damage bonus, and stand and deliver, which increases the damage for nearby targets by quite a lot. I will also be getting death from afar, which will also be increasing the damage for enemies that are further away. That's pretty much it for the skill tree. We try to get as many stats as we can, mainly intelligence and some dexterity and attack speed where it's close to us. For the ascendancy, we are getting sanguimancy because we have to. Gore spike, it's what increases our critical strike damage bonus. Right now, I've actually um, gotten some rarity instead of life, so I can get to around 5.5k life pretty easy while mapping. Because of sanguimancy, I can get to around 11,000 life, so that increases our critical strike damage bonus anything anywhere between 200 to 250. It's a really nice bonus. Besides this, we are using blood barbs for the added bleed and grasping wounds to help us sustain the big hits. Yeah, I think that's about it for the skill tree. So if you don't have a blood mage but plan on making one, make sure you check out my other video, the one with the Cinder Totem League Starter. It has a detailed leveling mechanic guide that will ensure a very smooth transition through the campaign, and you will be in endgame in absolutely no time. I think that's about it for this guide. Make sure you drop a comment if you have any type of question regarding this build or the channel overall. Until next time, make sure you stay safe and also watch out for scammers. There have been a lot of scam attempts recently in Path of Exile. Always thoroughly check your trade window and make sure it has the item that you ask for. Yeah, try to avoid any unpleasant situations. Till next time, thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you find this video useful. See you. Have fun. Bye.